Shit. Argonite, blue Argonite. Wow. That was a jolt. Ooh, that Argonaut. I don't know if you guys felt it come through it because it was wobbling and I could see where I was trying to balance so you get the essence of the Argonite coming out. And then all of a sudden it like became one with the bowl and it vibrated up. I don't know if you guys felt that. I was like, oh, because it, working with it centering itself and then it like, woo. So hope you got a little bit of that. If you've never heard me or checked me out, I am 8 Wind, is timeless. I am the holder of the sacred ball game created by the Hero Twins. I am your galactic daddy-o sitting on my galactic patio from Minnesota to the universe. So welcome. Tonight's beer is Founders. So pop them if you got them, smoke them if you want them. And I always feel like someone's watching me, and someone mentioned the great essence of Dakar. No, he called it a mean name, but it shows me you do watch. So it's kind of funny to me, and they give you such a good value with this big old bottle of essence. So this is not what you called it, buddy, but I'm glad you're watching because I hear it now. I understand. It's just funny. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome. Gosh, all this stuff on here. This is kind of my rest day. Been going at pickleball pretty hard and bought a new pickleball racket. I should have brought it up here and show it, and it's the reactions, and it's just funny. Just funny. It reminds me so much of hooping. As I said before, like those who've hooped before, you go to the park or wherever you play and you call next, and then you get the next game that's played, of course. Well, this you put the rackets in there, and it's like normally it's for the next 4 people or 2 people, depends how they do it. So it's so interesting, but a great way to work on reflexes, quickness. 4-on-4 is such a shoulder workout. You really, and I use both hands, and it's like trying to get better at something. Like I practice, and sometimes I'll miss the shot, but I'll practice something, and then eventually it comes into work in the game. So we're going to go into indoors pickleball next week. So Lorenzo, what's happening? Reese, what's happening? Thank you for joining me. JR, what's happening?
Let me see the underbrim. That better not be a black nasty. Oh, okay.
Get away. Where did you come from? You smell like Drakkar. I think you have plenty of Drakkar on tonight. Yeah, you smell like Drakkar and Nexia up your nose, buddy. Yeah.
You made me drop this dirty ass shit.
Yeah. Messing with the Drakkar. Don't you walk in here too? It's too hot over here for both of y'all. I'm just playing. You want to come put your face in? You can too.
Stream. Oh, you just got here too.
This is Big Mike.
What's up with y'all? Oh,
I can't see you.
What's up with y'all?
I'm not around little folks.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Have fun.
I'll see you.
All right. I'm leaving early because I'm going to the game, so I'm leaving early.
Sir, I have the key to the house.
All right.
Be at mother's house.
All right. Yeah, I'm leaving early. So.
All right, Dad. See you.
All right. Anise, thank you for joining. Hey, Crazy Sarge, how are you doing? I think Tiger Strong, you up in here? How you doing? Alito, what's happening? Perspective Gaming, thank you for joining. It is so groovy. Going to the game tomorrow, see Cleveland. So we're going to the restaurant at 11 when they wake up, and they got like 2-for-1 drinks, cheap drinks. And then like where we're Ubering, we Uber downtown, and then we're going to this restaurant that's on the train line. And so we take the train. So we'll Uber to the restaurant, have like brunch and some drinks, because drinks is cheaper there than at the stadium. And then we catch the train into the stadium. So much easier than trying to go downtown and park. Building the stadium, they've taken away a lot of parking. So game times, I mean, it's expensive to park. But so that's what we got planned. It's going to be fun. Oh yeah, so that's looking forward to going to the game tomorrow. Gonna be hyped. But to see live football, you see the speed of it. Live, you see the speed of it a little more. And pro football, well, pro and college both now, you see the entertainment aspect of it. Like when you go to a game live, you see the TV timeouts where they ain't doing nothing. They just looking at the refs to see when the commercial's over. That's why you'll see them looking at the big screen, because the big screen kind of times the way the commercials go as well. And so the players know when the big screen goes back to the game, the commercial's over. So that's what I got planned. Rainy day today. Pretty good, pretty deep meditation. So did get to meditate. I want to say this. It's funny how people try to put out spells, and like you really have to listen to what the spells they're putting out. Like I've showed time and time again, the one of the parrot spells that's been going on really for quite a while is at the end of the day. That is a parroting spell. And what's interesting, and you have to even look at, I've got people saying, look it up. Now, that was a slight spell, but it's easy, but it picked up. But it's funny, the brother, the young brother down in Costa Rica tried to create another word. It's a little short spell, but this ain't it. And this is a repeat, a thing that you've heard before in the past, but it's just, it doesn't have any steam. But it's funny how people try to put spells out there. Now, another brother said, when he was talking about someone being fairly having money, he put it embarrassment of riches, and that's another spell. So it's, and you could even like that would apply to the way they show rappers. It's almost an embarrassment of riches. It's kind of what they want you to see. This just the over like why do you need, and what do you think when you got like this much chain on, like Mr. T used to wear? Yeah, when you're wearing that much chain, that kind of looks like the chains from slavery. I remember I had a friend that said he couldn't wear chains because of that. He said it felt like the shit was choking him. And there's a rapper, they always allude to, now we buy cables, now we buy gold chains. But these are just things that you can pick up yourself if you just listen to what's said, and you'll pick up how they want the language to go. And I want to say this too. What was it called? War of the Gods, maybe the War of the Gods. One of those Greek Pantheon, about the Greeks. Perseus. It was about Perseus. And the guy said that, if the people don't believe in the gods disappear. And it's almost like this reality is kind of like that. It's like if the people really, like it's a lot of things that people could do that, like when they show you when young boys and stuff was in prison after Reconstruction, and then they made them work again for free as again prisoners of war. Why didn't they all just stop working? Remember 12 years of slaves? What the two slaves did? They quit eating and stuff, so they bust their teeth open and was force feeding them food. Remember that? So what if it was really just like, fuck you, we not gonna work. Okay, beat that motherfucker, beat him, we not gonna do shit. What really could they do? I mean, they try to beat a couple or kill a couple people in front of people to scare everybody else in. But if everybody else was just like, fuck it, we not gonna do that shit. One part they said that why they tried to enslave the natives, and the natives could get away easy. And the whole thing and the whole myth of Harriet Tubman is telling you that the melanated people they call black, the Negroes, could get away easy too. Didn't seem like it was really too hard. It's a lot of ways you could trick the dogs, but they tell you natives could just go run into the tribe, and you couldn't tell which one it was. And then they said they couldn't do the work. Said, well, gosh darn it, we tried to get them, and they just couldn't take this hot weather, and they just really couldn't get it done. They weren't very, very efficient. All these lies of history. I watch some history stuff, and it is almost like these is the dudes who invented the shit. I mean, they tell some of this stuff and some of this animation, some of these stories, like even the book I turned to about Isabella. These dudes act like they really was the writers of this stuff. Like, how do you know that Isabella dashed 200 miles in a trot when she was pregnant? On a horse, rode a horse day and night for days while pregnant. She was some kind of super woman. Passing horses. How do they know this stuff? And you read it, you start getting the feeling that this stuff they're making this stuff up. I mean, don't you ever see that? Not just books in the future, not just futuristic books, nonfiction, but you can read some fiction shit and you can get the idea that these writers made this up. I mean, if you look at really the translation of the Bible that's not in the Greek, it's some fairly recent people that made that stuff up as far as the translation. Don't you get the feeling reading some of this history and seeing some of this history? Like I was watching some shit on Al Capone. And it's a thing where the syndicate, not the mafia, you got to be Sicilian. And Capone would have been Sicilian, so I guess I could say mafia, but they called it the syndicate. In the way he was out there like Momo, Momo Garcia? How he was in Chicago, flamboyant, trying to be a movie star in the paper. Don't you think they kind of wanted it like that? They wanted the tailored gangster. Do you see how they created their own image? And you look at the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover copied that. He later copied that. When he made The Untouchables, the FBI show that was on in the 60s, The Untouchables came on in the 50s, glorifying them. I was reading a thing about William Hearst, and he is a Mac. He has to be up there for one of the all-time Macs. This dude married a girl 15 years younger than him, had 5 sons. Supposedly his daddy got a lot of money, hitting the gold rush. Very sketchy about that gold rush, even if it really existed. And the daddy dies. The mama kind of gives him enough to play around with. And then the mama dies, he gets it all. And they want you to believe that this dude just had to go out and buy everything in the world he saw. Almost to the point where he spent damn near $1 billion himself on just shit he bought. Then he builds a castle in LA when he has to create roads and everything going to this thing. Again, what is the word? Embarrassment of riches. He was embarrassment of riches. It's like they do with the dudes going into space, so we can go up and down on a ride. They've been doing that shit since the Nazi stuff. The Nazis invented that shit. That ain't new shit. To send a rocket up is 80, 90 years old. But anyway, Hearst. Hearst did what a lot of the people did around that time, got into movies, but he was a newspaper dude. He owned the New Yorker. I think he came out with that magazine. But magazines, and he just showed how the media and propaganda can guide a nation. I mean, one thing that was interesting and how much people wanted the news he put out, they showed a dude throw a paper away and another guy picked it up out the trash because the other guy saw the importance of the information. And then the guy gets into what most of them did, got into movies and shit, and fell in love with a movie star and left his wife. I mean, this dude was like cold as cold. He was from the West Coast. He reminded me a lot of Patton. Him and Patton kind of grew up around the same period. He might have been a little younger than Patton, but not a lot. Not a lot. They both grew up there Patton grew up in LA. He grew up in San Francisco. And so he leaves his wife, who lives in New York, and then he marries his girlfriend, or he lives with his girlfriend for the next 30 years. And the wife said that, like, the few times she got to see him before he finally left her, he would see her for an hour. He'd come to like New York City from California, see her for an hour, and just small talk like, "Well, I got to go." Don't know how often he saw his children, and it's like this thing was no secret. Everybody knew he lived with his mistress. But his wife liked the title. His wife was entitled. Long as his wife stayed married to him, she was entitled. And his girlfriend, of course, being a movie star, silent star. Well, it was funny. Marion Davies, maybe was her name. But what was funny about her is, if you've watched me long enough, I've often said about Rudolph Valentino, Well, Rudolph Valentino was more than likely a sacrifice for the talkies. But Rudolph Valentino didn't have a very strong voice or convincing voice. Well, this girl was even worse because she stuttered. She stuttered. This chick stuttered. And I guess the first time she saw a talkie film, which was funny, it was Al Jolson. He's not in blackface in the scene they show, but it's from the same movie where Al Jolson sings a song, a talkie, one of the first talkies or singing talkies. He's in blackface, but not that one. It's another song. And she starts crying because she's like, shit, I can't talk. I mean, you can be expressive and make the camera love you and make the people love you through your expressiveness and the music and the read over. But then the new technology came in where we want to hear what you got to say. And of course, they got her all the training, and she does. But she doesn't become a star. It was like the timing for the interest of the people. But it's just funny how it's the same story, like if you even listen to with Trump, because the same thing, this guy had spent so much where he lost almost all of it, but he was able to hold on to just a little bit of it. And then after the war, this dude was all with Hitler, Mussolini. He was against communism, but he was Hitler, Mussolini dude too, which is interesting. He's got pictures with Nazis. So he was kind of like, didn't like communists though. Didn't like communists, which is an interesting thing, because it ain't a big difference between capitalism and communism. Not really. It's all the same kind of thing. Same kind of deal. Hey, Brisk Clown, PJ, what's happening? What is happening? Okay, how's life been treating? Okay. You should have rocked your Wolverine jersey today. They look good. Yes, they did. I just finished reading the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Okay, Bruce. Have to give us a review. Yeah, Michigan looked good. I must have called my best friend like 3 or 4 times. We was talking about the game. I mean, really good game plan today. They like one thing, if you look at early in the games, and granted, we all know they're scripted, but if you see one side knocking the other one's back, that's kind of a thing where you can see who's going to control. And they were able to knock more of them back. And so that's a big tell on how the game is going to go. But just like Notre Dame lost, and I think they lost, and yeah, they lost. So that was easy money there, the Notre Dame game, because Cincinnati was ranked higher. But the play I shows, I mean, it makes no sense. And I know it doesn't have anything to do with the outcome of the game, but what I try to show people is there are physical parts of the game you can see that shows the script. And that's what I try to relate to people. Now, who's going to win? There's a lot of talking heads. We know the numbers are used, but when you start looking at the scheme and the game plans, and then it becomes apparent what they're going to do. Oh, did anybody catch up? Bell is going to sign with Baltimore. Bell is going to sign with Baltimore, and they already got Murray. They just picked up Murray. Murray's played. He didn't play the first game, but he played 2 games. I tell you what, you look at Baltimore, and Baltimore runs a pro set with them 2. They run a pro set with them 2 that both can catch the ball out the backfield. That's going to be interesting. Now, a lot of teams don't run pro set anymore, but with them 2 backs, pro set would be perfect for them. Now, again, it would take, a couple receivers out, but you can flank them. You can put them on it like a flanker on the tackles, so you can still spread them out. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out for them. Games fixed they are. Saw a grip gloves catch on an Ole Miss player made. Okay, I didn't watch Alabama. I was watching the Michigan game, and then I watched Notre Dame, Cincinnati. I was impressed with Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was one of the teams I had highlighted that if they've got a pretty easy time. If Cincinnati, and this was like one of their hardest games, and looks like Cincinnati with Oregon losing, and again, it looked like they wanted Oregon to lose, because remember, anybody watched that Oregon game, Oregon Stanford game, remember, it was fourth down before overtime, and they called pass interference. It was like they kept that drive alive. And this is what was interesting. If you watch that game, they kept saying when it was about 3 minutes left that they hadn't stalled enough time. I don't know if anybody else watched that Oregon game, but in Stanford, but it's like they're leaving Stanford too much. They had stopped them on fourth down with time going off. So time expired, but we know that a game cannot end on a defensive penalty. You get another play. And of course, the next play, they score a touchdown. So, and it was like even in the Michigan game, before Michigan hurt the quarterback in the third quarter, they saw that they had a mismatch on number 30 for Michigan, who later got an interception. He later hurt the quarterback too. So number 30, even though he got beat on two big plays, he made two big defensive plays. So do you see how they do it? In some ways, he's shamed, but in two other ways, he turned out being a hero. But it was like what made no sense was it was number 30 there slow, gets beat, I think, by 13 for Wisconsin for a long game. Now, what didn't make sense is they was two safeties deep, and the safety comes up like to double team on the tight end when he knows he has a guy out here flaring out long. And I'm just looking at this play, and I rewind. I'm like, this makes no sense. And then when they get their touchdown minutes later, the same thing. Nobody's helping this guy who obviously can't cover this guy one-on-one. And he did make a good play later on the ball where the guy kind of got the ball and pulled his arm down. But yeah, I didn't watch the Ole Miss game. Shaquille denounces a celebrity. Is that for his Freemason buddies? Yeah, pretty much, Herm. Thanks for joining. Pretty much. It's like celebrity it can be a lot of different things. You can be a celebrity in your little town where everybody knows you because of your personality. You are a type of celebrity in some way. Now, you're not famous out there on TV. So it's different levels. So I ain't seeing his commercials pulled off. As far as I know, he's going to be on NBA again, on TNT NBA. He's on every other commercial. He's probably, on the most commercials. Well, Sabrina's starting to show itself. Yeah, well, it does help. I mean, as I said before, the original gloves was the scuba diving gloves, or you took the baseball gloves and kind of roughed them up, and that would stop the ball. Because new baseball gloves hitting that leather, you couldn't stop it. So you had to, make it frayed a little bit, and then it would stop the ball, especially cold. That's the cold was one of the things. They found the scuba diving gloves would keep your hands warm. Again, scuba diving, some of the temperatures in the water are still cold, and the gloves are able to hold the heat in. So that's why some of the original gloves was for that consideration too. Because it's hard when it's like really cold outside. You're trying to catch a ball. That's really hard. Rain is hard just holding the ball, but catching it, like rain don't hurt you. Catching and falling on a hard field, that's torture in some ways. That is kind of torture in some ways. So that's a part why they put them in. And then it like another thing that people, I talked about before, my friend, because I've broken these individual fingers, I used to tape, like I said before, one time I would play like this. I would tape these two and tape these two. Well, a guy just individually made me little flexible cast maybe. And that took the place where I could still use all my hands. Well, when you look at the gloves keep your fingers from getting them sprains. That's another part of bonus above the glove too. The glove will kind of hold it in there. So the reason why teams like Cincy, BYU are playing good ball this year is because they're trying to the Big 12 in a few years, and the Big 12 wants to keep their Power 5 status. Cincinnati would probably fit better with the ACC because they got the basketball program to compete in the ACC, and they already set a bunch of schools, so don't knock that off too. Hey, Gray. Yeah, Oregon game was definitely rigged. Like even the last play that Oregon, okay, so the game goes into overtime. Stanford scores. Oregon has to score. And it was like some of the stupidest calls. I want to say, wasn't it a bad snap in that final overtime drive? They put the ball back? Maybe not. But it was like even the last play to just get a first down was just very iffy, not enough room out of bounds, but it just wasn't a sound call to just get the first down. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. Well, yeah, so it is. It is easy to see all this. It is to see the script, and so that's and the thing when you bet, and the thing when you want to bet is that's how you have to judge it too, because it's a moving kind of thing. They make it fluid. That's the thing. So it's when they script it, it is a set script, but you have to understand that script becomes fluid. Because what they are also looking at is who's watching the game, who's sharing the game, who's paying attention to the advertisements, what advertisement might want in on this. So they're doing all this together to decide the outcomes of the game. So all these are considered, all those are considerations. So it's a fluid thing. And so you have to, when you bet, you have to understand that it is not a stagnant thing that you're betting on. You've got to look at all the ebbs and flows. I know a lot of people say how good they do, but even they get caught not understanding that it's not stagnant. So when you think on how it's going to move, that's what you got to do. And that's what I say with the numbers dudes. You guys get locked into them numbers. But you have to understand more when you put in that, yes, the numbers help, but it's this kind of thing. It's not stagnant. Like, see, and this is the thing with the numbers dudes. It's like they used to reporting on stories that are stagnant. Boom, this happened today, and this is how we're going to decode it. It's not moving. It's there dead. It's there dead. They're reporting on something that's really basically dead already. It's already out there. And they're just telling you how it's, breaking down what they're really saying, like we don't know already. That's okay. And then the other spell that's going on, again, you got to understand when you hear these spells and the guy's saying, I digress. And it's like, it just, these are spells. These are parroting spells that are put out there so you start using them. So understand that when you hear things like that. My homegirl's son plays DB for UC. Oh, bet, PJ. That's exciting. That's exciting. I was going to go to the high school game last night, and then the Gophers played Rutgers. I think the Gophers played Rutgers. Yeah, and the Gophers played Purdue in Lafayette. So the Gophers were out of town this week. So they won. But yeah. And we got a guy that's playing on the Gophers too. I think he's getting red shirted. I haven't noticed him playing yet. So we haven't talked to him. Maybe my son had. But yeah, that's cool, PJ. That is really cool. Oh, and then my daughter's first cousin plays at the local high school, but it was raining everywhere. It was raining everywhere. Did you see my response to the rig plays about my wife's cousins? Tell me about the plays that are called. Yeah. You can share that again, though. You want to share that to people. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And that's why, if you look at me on the Super Bowl thing last year, the simplicity of you just, all I did is went back a couple games. Like I watched some highlights from a couple games before the Super Bowl, because that's all they try to do is hyped up. And I'm like, okay, I picked up some tendencies. And so one thing that I've got on wax from last year's Super Bowl, you go back to Gronk's touchdown, his first touchdown. I said, oh, this is Gronk inside. Gronk's going to be the tight end on the opposite side. He's going to run down the line and he's going to get a touchdown right there. And I called it before it happened. Now, if I could recognize the formation and see what they like going to at that given position, I'm sure the defensive coordinator had to know too. I mean, it was just too easy to predict. I just looked at the set and I said, oh, they're going to go to Gronk inside. 30 seconds later, that's exactly what they did. Again, if I know it, you telling me a coordinator ain't seeing that? And Gronk, like when Gronk played against Baltimore, he beating these dudes. Gronk run a 10-second 40. He's beating these dudes running 4.4s. Like they can't stay with this dude who's stiff, doesn't have any real moves. He just, he just gets right into his cuts. No really, shaking. But guys, he was never a shake you guy. He just could run a little faster when he was younger, but not anymore. When he was younger, he was a bigger dude that can run, but not and fight people off, but not anymore. From the Packers-Niners game and the Cincy game, I pay more attention to the way DBs cover receivers. Yeah, Lorenzo. I mean, that's what what you look at is you look at what the down is, the importance of the down, importance of the time remaining, and you see through that what is about to happen. Like again, if it's short yardage, I don't expect like sometimes look at goal lines, get back on goal lines. You see dudes off a receiver, like they'll be on the 2-3 yard line, and you see the dude, instead of him being pressed up, he in the end zone. He's in the end zone. They'd be on like the 3 to 5 yard line, and the DB be in the end zone. Or say they're on the 3 yard line, and the DB be off him in the end zone. All the dude got to do is turn quickly and catch it. And you look at it like this makes no sense. This can't be real. So it's a lot of that. I wonder how the NBA is going to handle the players that are against and that's a good point. That's a good point. And see, it's just like I was saying, though, when you got, and with these contracts, a lot of times what you have to understand on some of these players, they are not into the extensions. So say they signed an extension last season, that extension does not apply till next season. So some of these cats' bread ain't really long as it is advertised. And dudes got bills. You have a certain lifestyle, you get credit. And a lot of people fall for the credit, so they got bills. So, but other players are already good. And what's interesting is you only playing half a season. You know how much rest that is on your body? It's 80 games. You only got to play 40. And that 40 games that you play, you're going to make enough money. You're going to make enough. Now, if you can help your team into the playoffs, you could be penalized because it could be in a city where you can't play. So depending on the record, you'll miss 3 or 4 playoff games because you can't travel. That's a negative. I'll say that. But given the right situation, it's not necessarily. If say it's one of these cities that don't care, and you only play half a season, going to playoffs, and then where all the playoffs land is in cities you can go to, and you got a 40 game body compared to people that's played 80 games, how much fresher you would be. I don't know, in a way that ain't really a lose to me. Again, the scenario of the finals, that could be a lose. You can miss 3 or 4 games in the finals, definitely. And then, of course, your team end up short. They're going to put that, well, if you'd have just participated. So we'll see. I say stay together. If they stay together, that's the strongest thing they can do. That's what I say. He played for the Bengals, Steelers, Lions, and ended up retiring, playing in Canada. But he tried to denounce me, saying the game was rigged, said the plays that are called are questionable. Wow. Yeah. You related that, and it's again. What's his name? Larry Johnson, the football player, Larry Johnson. He's supposed to be the NFL X, again, controlled opposition. And when Zach hit him with were your games rigged, and he said, I don't think so. What? You went to Penn State, buddy. Every game you played on was on TV. Every game you played on in college was rigged. So don't play the dummy. So I don't take you serious unless you always serious. See? And it's funny, like he wasn't even prepared for that question. I guess he didn't think, they would at least ask him that. But he said, I don't think so. Yeah, the players won't get paid. Yep, they won't get paid. But most of the guys had the money. The dudes who's taking the stands, except the rookie, he's the only one. But Bill got, plenty of money. Bill got plenty of money. Kyrie got plenty of money. Wiggins got plenty of money. So them dudes, they can't squeeze because they're not hurting. They're not hurting, especially Wiggins and Bradley Beal. Now, the rookie, it's going to be a little tougher for him. I don't think he's a rookie. I think this is be his second year. Financially, that's going to be a little tougher for him because he's not probably he's living off his bonus money and his last year's salary. He's probably not as wealthy as those other two. He would take a hit, but they sound like he had a strong background. He deals with a church. He's an ordained minister, so it sounds like he's got a hustle. Like, okay, if I'll go do church business. And I'll go around the country going to churches on the days that I'm not hooping. What kind of political support do you think he can gain through that, taking this stand now, if that's what he does on his days off? So there's always these times more than ever, there's always a counter. Oh, excuse me. Isn't that his name, Larry Johnson? Yep. Larry Johnson says some stuff, but he's sworn to secrecy. Yeah, definitely. You talking about Isaac from Orlando. Isaac from Orlando. Oh, yeah. Isaac. Yep. Isaac from Orlando. Remember, I've said it before. He didn't bow down. He didn't bow down. When LeBron and all them was trying to get people to bow down, he did not bow down. He was like, hey, I'm not bowing down. And he was right. He was right. He was absolutely right. That kneeling shit was corny. It had nothing to do with what they tried to claim it had something to do with. It had nothing to do with that. So, hate these fruit flies. And then the boys at the door open. I know another fly is flying around me. But it's like players with the pension money. That's the thing. That's why they're not going to really tell. They're not going to ruin their pension. 200, 300, 400,000 for the rest of your life. I mean, OJ gets 250,000 from his football pension days from the 70s. And it can't be touched. That was asset protected. So think about it. He supposedly was in prison all them years. Still got the pension. So he had all that money still there. So what kind of federal time you think he really did, if he did any, when you got that kind of bread? You live comfortably. And yeah, you got to be there. I mean, that's why, like, even if Cosby was in jail, how hard did Cosby really have it? An 80-year-old dude. They wasn't just get in there, throw him in by his ass, just throw his ass in the room. They treat him different if he was even there. So, yeah, I saw something, Mr. T Gaming. Saw he was here. So it's going to be interesting. Same way with football. Trying to get everybody to do the bidding. That's up to the individual, I guess. That's what the Republicans saying. I think I've plenty of times said how I felt about it. And it's up to the person. It's up to the person. I mean, I take a bunch of stuff. I take pills. I take concentrics. I'm pretty sure right now I would have snapped my right leg, my right Achilles without concentrics. It's one of the one things because I have a disease that attacks my ligaments. And I'm pretty sure the concentrics is helping hold it together amongst the other things. So this I can say helps me. I feel a little better. So I'm not again. I took the shingle stuff last year. But only last year. So it's up to you. It's up to you what you feel. They're trying to make it a hard choice, and it's on you. I think after a year, there's a lot of information out there you can pull from, if it's for you or whatever is for you. Because it is past the stage of real or not real. It's past the stage of that. It is in the psyche. It is in the subconscious. It is the fear that's out there. This thing is the same thing that Bin Laden was. They had to put fear there. So you just fear, like you thinking, somebody's going to just blow you up from around the corner. But it's that same kind of fear. And in 2 weeks, they made everybody follow the fear agenda. You go in. They had to spread the fear. And that's what the covering up is part of you physically feeling the fear all the time. That's really what the covering up is about. So you have to physically feel it. And it's you, not them. Well, you need that to be around everybody. So I really have nothing to say about that. That is a part of this illusion. Like they said in Hamburger Hill, it don't mean nothing, not a thing. And sometimes I don't even take my own advice when I wasn't feeling bad. Because sometimes I don't get a feeling bad and I'm like, okay, take it. I've studied enough about the end of this thing to know what's next. And you will start feeling better because even that over you. Like I remember my cousin, I've said this many times, my cousin was telling me goodbye. His older brother broke his hip. He was in his 60s, broke his hip. They replaced his hip, never woke up. And then he had some type of lung disease, so he's on oxygen. He actually needed a lung transplant and was on route to about get it at about 55, 56. But his brother died and his parents had already died, my aunt and uncle, my aunt. And he was like, I ain't scared of this thing no more. And I, love the dude so much. It's my first cousin, one of my oldest memories of a relative friend. But that's what he was telling me. I ain't scared of this shit. I ain't scared to die no more. And that's the thing. That's overcoming this, is not being scared to die. But see, what they try to do is they try friends, relatives, children, parents. Well, we'll make them die. We'll make them suffer. So then it'll make you believe it more. And again, what did they say in Hamburger Hill? It don't mean nothing, not a thing. And it doesn't make you cold or anything, but it really doesn't mean anything. And so I say this from that aspect of, if you see how artificial it is, all of it's artificial. So if you see that the football games is artificial and just entertainment, all of this stuff is. Even the music, some ways, what they put in front of you, what they're putting in front of our children, the little quick bleeps. I mean, how often do we go out the room and children are exposed to just whatever is on? I know it's. I'm not trying to say any of us are bad parents, but that's how the reality. Where those of us that have children, and you're out of the room and doing something, and that TV's on, and they're in charge of it. You see what's on. You see what's even in the commercials, and it does not make you guilty. I mean, how many people really, like, you leave a room and you got it programmed where they can only watch such and such. So we can't really keep it from them. They start talking about the shit, amongst each other. People bring it up. So it doesn't mean that you haven't done your best. Okay, Lorenzo. Yeah. Throw him in by his ass. But yeah, PJ. But yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Lorenzo. That's a real good point. That's pretty solid there. It is. It is. But it's people stick together could get a lot more done. I mean, one thing that they were scared of the hippies would just, as I was saying, with Woodstock and others, they would make a town, just get together and make a big town. Just what if that force was the force that really tried to just went to DC and said, yeah, ain't nothing getting done. We gonna all stay up in here and ain't nothing getting done. 600,000 there. That's really shutting stuff down. But that's why they put them around music and a concert. And then they practiced weather warfare on them. They rained them out a day or two, and the people still didn't leave. Look into Woodstock when they was sliding down the hill and dancing in mud. They hit them with weather warfare. The Woodstock concert. Tried to rain all the people out because there was so many people there, and the people didn't leave. One of my old friends that was a Vietnam vet used to be my roommate. He said he went. He said they took a school bus down. They said he had like a pound of weed, and he said they took a school bus down there. And they said, they all, when it was raining, they was all on the bus. But he said it was just like a city. And this was the dude that had did now. He said, man, this was like just a young people's city where it was just mostly young people. And I've said before, that's what they fear. The 15 to 20-year-olds they fear. Remember the song that used to be called 19. This is who mostly went to Vietnam. I mean, even World War I and World War II, you can look at some of the ages of these people. And these is young people that's going to war. 19, 20, 21. You look at all the people in that age range that joined World War II by the hundreds of thousands. And like Brother Nick was saying, you know, once you get in that hole, all the political stuff is meaningless. But something that they talked about in the Bubba Gump, he said when what did he say? Remember he said Bubba died by that river in the Ing Chong Valley. And Forrest Gump. Remember he said Bubba just died near that river. What was the military strategic use for that river? And again, I understand what Brother Nick said is when you're in that hole, all the politics go out. But when you see your guy get killed there and there's no military importance where your guy gets killed, what is it really for? That's why I talk about Hamburger Hill so much. You can look at an actual battle called Pork Chop Hill in Korea. Very similar. Matter of fact, Hamburger Hill wasn't the first time they fought for that very same hill. Both sides was crooked. Both sides is maximizing just getting their people killed. Both sides, and they don't care. I say, if anything, the communism shows you, they just push people out there to get killed, sacrifice. What did the enemy at the gate show you? Gave one person bullets, one person a rifle. We just gonna hit them at numbers. And then they told them, if you retreat, we gonna kill you. So your best bet to stay alive is to keep going forward. And that's what they tell you the communist thing was. But not for them Japanese folks. The Japanese folks was very efficient. Now, war crimes, probably so. But again, look at who they fought. They put Europeans up out of there. One of the few times the Europeans was pushed out of melanated people's country and out for an extended period of time. And it makes you wonder about the people in India. Why didn't the people in India turn on the British? That was the perfect time for them to turn on the British. But instead, they fought the other melanated people. What sense did that make? What sense did that make for the Indian people to fight the Japanese? They couldn't get Bill for what to say he did, so they got R. Kelly instead. That's why Bill came out and said R. Kelly was railroaded. Well, plus I think he could get that probably with appeal. I wouldn't doubt that he could beat that with appeal because Some of that stuff, I don't know. And again, just him. I mean, others have said that racketeering, just him. Racketeering means you've got a whole network. So where the rest of the rest at? Where the rest of them people at? Like when they caught John Wayne Gacy, he said, "Who else you get?" Hey, Moray, what's happening? Thank you for joining me. They got John Wayne Gacy. He said, "Who else? Who else?" Because it ain't just me. Who else? And it's like on Dark Man X channel, they was debating about the abortion thing. But the point they both, neither one of them, and maybe I didn't watch it long enough, but the why. Like, why was abortion created? And why was it targeted at melanated people? Why was it made super easy when we know Margaret Singer? We know that this is what her aim was, to try to stop the birthing of melanated people. Had nothing to do with rights. That's why, because of what we're going with now, they quit saying that my body, my choice. That was my mom parroting. She would parrot that. But since this thing's come around, they don't say that anymore. Because you see how they want to change the rules? So the rules was, it's your body, your choice. But now that goes against what's going on. So you feel me? Let me in then. I mean, this was again 4 generations worth of wiping out people. A teenager can make her own decision if she wants to continue. They're giving condoms in the schools. And now they even, sex education is getting younger, exposing it to younger groups. I mean, remember what Black Lives Matter stuff meant at one time? Get rid of the mother and the father. And then they had to take that out because the brothers like, you guys ain't read through this? Now, the thing about the race theory shit is, it's that slave shit still. Now, I guess I like the part of European shame, but to go with the European shame, I got to take the slave shit all over again, and the slave ship bullshit, all them lies. That goes with it. They're saying if they teach the shaming, they can also teach the slaving. So that's still more brainwashing. That ain't a win. Said that it was written for in law schools. So law schools could understand. Law students can understand, saying that Europeans are inherently evil. Well, I'll say it like this. They have practices that it seems to be able to trigger all of them into being evil. I'll say that. I'll say that there probably was some type of triggers that seems to go through that society. Because, and some of this stuff is unbelievable about history and the lynchings. A lot of the lynchings was it was human sacrifice more than just killing the black folks. I think more study needs to be done into the so-called lynchings and see these dates and see what sacrifice was called for them dates. And a lot of it was, again, like the Emmett Till was overkill to tell people to quit coming down here and trying to settle the busing and all that. It was those type of messages that we were seeing. How do you speed up manifesting things you want from a spiritual perspective? I wouldn't say, that you want to speed up the process. It's not really wanting to speed up the process. It's understanding the process of abundance and timing. And so if anything, you should enhance your ability of timing. because that's what abundance is. It all has to do with timing. And again, having, and it's like when you set up two kind of in and out, you set up two kind of things. Remember, you want the good abundance to come in, and you want to have a exhaust where the bad abundance goes, or the bad luck, if the bad timing goes. I mean, that's really what, when I hold the harmonizers and they try to show you people in the past holding the two things. In America, they only held the one, they didn't hold the two. You see that? That's just one. You just hold the one. Yeah. But anyway, it's again feeling the energies between the two, but understanding how the timing, and seeing if the timing is favorable for you. Watch the little hints that go around in your life, and that shows you if the timing is for you to manifest. And then once you see that everything is set up for you to manifest, then go through whatever type of push that gives you a push. Because there's no one right or wrong way, but it's about picking up the timing. And understanding that if the timing ain't right now, that's okay too. I'll be ready when the timing pops off. So that's the full way to really manifest. It's like, okay, it didn't happen. I put my little energy in it and it didn't happen, but that's okay, because I was prepared for it not to happen or for it to happen. So even if it didn't happen, that's okay. It doesn't stop me from manifesting. It didn't happen this time, but I'm still going to keep manifesting. I'm still going to try to work on my timing. And that's kind of how it has to be. And you see, you sometimes you get tells, you get little tells to see that it's working. And that's comforting. That's comforting. You do a couple steps and then you like, this kind of, I did this step. And like I was saying, even playing pickleball, it's like, okay, I may have missed this time, but another shot, I made it. So, I had to practice and I missed, but the next time it came to opportunity, I was able to hit it in. So what does she say in White Man Can't Jump? Sometimes when you win, you lose. And sometimes when you lose, you actually win. Sometimes when you win, you really draw. So it's just understanding that process. In order to have critical, as a manipulated people, we have the shaming of Europeans, but also have to take the lives of our ancestors. Exactly. That's what I was saying. We do. We have to accept the slave ship stuff and not the prisoners of war. Not the prisoners of war. And more than that, it's other things that have to be. It almost makes you want to say that they had help in other ways. I don't know if it's people from the future. I don't know if the alien, but it just does not make sense. The numbers don't make sense. I've said this through. That is one part of history that just doesn't make sense. To say that in 2 years, Cortez could get 200,000 men when it was only 500 of them. In 2 years. Do you know how you have to feed 200,000 people? It's like you can't just all go at one time. I mean, that has to be such a lie. And then there's another war. There's another battle where the Europeans, the Spanish is about to be put up out of there in the 1570s. They're about to be put up out of there finally. And out of nowhere, 30,000 people come. Do you know how planning in advance, even back then, you had to move 30,000 people? Like say the battle is like today on Tuesday. You would have had to a month ago start planning on moving that many people. It ain't like you can just blow a whistle and 30,000 people just move to the correct place and time. I mean, these things make no sense. Makes no sense. How? I mean, it's hard to move hundreds of thousands of people. That's why when they talk about the children missing from the border, 10 to 11,000 children are missing. That ain't just, that takes a lot. That takes a lot to move just 1,500, 2,000 people. If they taking children like that, it ain't just one person. One person in a white van, a panel van with no windows. No. This takes a group of a supply chain to move them children like that. But our history, this is what they want us to believe. That they came over here with a limited amount of people and they was able to go to sleep, eat. They say even Cortez found a chick that could kind of talk their stuff and talk to everybody else, which is very similar to what they tell you about Lewis and Clark and the chick on the little dollar. That they found a chick that could just talk to everybody as they went west. We see that same story with Cortez. So how could that be? How could that be? In critical history, they just both find a person that just steps right into the same role to the Europeans. Does that make sense? Does that seem logical? Is that just a coincidence? 100 years, a couple hundred years apart, the same event goes. Person is right there and like, hey, I know all these motherfuckers. I know all these motherfuckers and I know how to talk to all of them. And I'll tell you the cool sign when we just give them the cool sign and walk up in there. Just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, necessary evil, big H. Dick Gregory was an agent, and I don't know if that's the word to use. He worked for the FBI. He was obviously under FBI control. And I think I was thinking earlier, I saw somebody else at a funeral, and they didn't put him on the shoulder. So obviously he didn't die in good standing. I don't remember who recently died, but I peeped that. But I think Dick Gregory, they did take him out on the shoulders. So now I could be wrong, but it was obvious that he was an agent. If you even listen to his jokes and how he got, like Malcolm talked shit about Dick Gregory. Remember that? Malcolm did work for them people too. Malcolm was controlled opposition. I mean, his education, everything you could see. He was too polished. Not to say he didn't have some natural gifts, but he was the opposite of King at the same time. A little older. Malcolm was a little older than King. Because I think when Malcolm got killed, I think Malcolm and Kennedy was closer in age to each other. Yeah, I think so. Malcolm was a little older than King. I think King was like 28, 29, and Malcolm, Kennedy might have been born 17, and Malcolm maybe been like 20, 21. Or maybe Malcolm was a little in the teens. I'm not sure. I don't quite remember. But the same job. I mean, all of them, you can see these histories of all of them, what they did before. Because in a lot of ways, religion becomes a type of entertainment, type of control. And religions have always been part of, I mean, you look into it, no tax means you work for them. So, let me say this. I want to say this to Brother Zach Hubbard. Because Zach said that them peoples, let's take it back. Zach said that Israel is not responsible for all the things going around in this country, or this world, excuse me. I agree perfectly. I never said Israel was them peoples. Now, a lot of them peoples live in Israel, but a lot of them peoples live in Russia. A lot of them peoples live in China. A lot of them peoples live in Korea. A lot of them peoples live here in the USA. So no, we never said that it was just them. I said it was them peoples. So not the country, them peoples. So, I mean, he showed his hand again. And that's okay. We ain't keep bringing it on, Zach. We just know you them people's buddy, and that's okay. Blame it on the army. That's right. Blame it on the army. That's okay. We understand. Hey, Soap, how you doing? Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining me. What do you think about the fact that both Satan and Jesus are called the morning star? Lost my job due to the mandate. Okay, well, stay strong. See whatever resources you can do to survive. find something else where that's not done. That's all. Keep moving on. Yeah, well, I mean that's the whole thing. Even if you get into almost all of them, like almost all religions, the same energy, Yabatha, the same thing, Marduk, Yabatha, or Yadaba. That's saying it right, Yadaba. It's that energy. It's that energy called both of them. It's that energy from both of them. I mean, it's that's why it is the same. Yadaboth, which is also called Samuel. Yadaboth, but it's the same. And it's like Yahshua says, people may think I have come to impose peace upon the world. They do not know that I have come to oppose conflicts upon the earth, fire, sword, and war. For there will be 5 in a house. There will be 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, father against son and son against father, and they will stand alone. Does that sound like peace? That sounds like conflict. Like they're putting the conflict in there through religion. Have you discovered in the beginning, now that you are seeking the end, where the beginning is and the end will be? Blessings on you who stand at the beginning. You will know the end and not taste death. I mean, they don't even, what does this say? Whoever discovers what these sayings mean will not taste death. So they give those kind of little hints out. Open the door to the chaos. A.B. Brown, thank you for joining. Transferred energy. Yes, absolutely. Yep, it is. Had to follow my intuition. That's a good thing, so. But like I have a friend, and I've been trying to get her to come on because she's a really cool personality, but she started doing her hustling. She got her shirts, and she got and I should put her stuff in the thing to put her, because she's selling hoodies and she's selling all kind of the little bracelets and everything. And so I got to put her stuff in. Maybe I can put her stuff in this, and people that like little things like that and can't get it from your local. She's got, matter of fact, she just got into some Lamar that I might hit her over. Lamar is fairly expensive, and it holds a really good energy. It's a really good energy to work with. Late but showing love. Okay, Liquid Fire. Thank you. Hey, Jay. Thank you. So, yeah, it's them peoples that's running this stuff. And no, they're not all in Israel. So, no, we're not that naive. It's just like the Nazis and the Israelis worked together to send Israelis to Israel. So, again, if you study Isabella, it shows you when the transformation was done. When them people said, wait a minute, if we join her side, it's going to be easier for us to control the world. And that's when they did. That's why I said again, Columbus was sent over there by them peoples, not Fernando and Isabella. They was kind of struggling a little bit of money. It was them peoples that put most of the money up for Columbus. Now, the second trip, yeah, they did. They took some spoils from the second trip too. And I was saying almost 60, 70 years after Cortez, they found one of the dudes that was like the governor of all of Mexico. They found his daughter still practicing what them peoples do. And they had to knock his post down. So you see what I'm saying? They was conversos. They found it was easier to control from being Catholics. What they say, the people that are not. The Jews that are not. I don't know. It's just the track record for Fury ain't very good. I mean, They wouldn't let him box in. He couldn't box in England because they found him plastering his hands before. They found him plastering his hands during warm-ups or practicing. He's supposedly 300 pounds right now. I don't know what he fought the other 2 fights. I mean, he ain't a little dude, but I don't know. It was a lot of that second fight that just now Fury. That first fight, he was really great. I kind of think the knockout should have been the knockout, but up to that point, Fury was really great in that first fight. He is one of the greater. How can I even say it? His feints and his movements and his anticipation of punches is Ali-ish in that first fight. You see, like when he fought that Russian in first kind of fights, and that third fight he had, you know, he has all those type of skills. Now Wilder was outboxed the first 5 or 6 rounds, but then he got caught with that heat, and he could have been. You know how easy they stop the fights after a hit like that. But Fury he's fun to watch when he's in his top shape. I don't know though. That last fight, a lot of it was a rabbit punch that wasn't called. I can't say the gloves made a difference. Wilder stamina looked like he didn't have stamina. I don't know. I don't know. That fight really seemed iffy. But yeah, it's a distraction. Yeah, all big fights like that. Football every weekend is a distraction this time of year. Hey, homie, thanks for joining. That football is a big distraction this time of year. And I don't never point the finger at just one person. It ain't just one person. But there's a force out there. And I just understand who the enemy is. You know, that's the thing. The enemy. I mean, they got you looking at these politics like they ain't all enemies. And most of all of them is enemies on who we watching. They try to tell you the guys. It's just the guys. Now, would have Trump handled this? Remember, Trump put this thing together. The thing they pushing down, Trump helped push it through faster. All right, so remember that. He helped push it through faster too. So he ain't left. Is Joe as slow? Could it be like the Bush thing? But W was a stupid man. He had a lot of good advisors, though. A lot of good advisors that he trusted, that his family trusted. And so they was able to steal a lot. Had people thinking that Cheney owned Halliburton, and Cheney worked for them. Look who bought Halliburton in 1947 after the war, the Bush family. But that's the name you heard out there. Well, you know, Cheney was vice president of Halliburton. Yeah, but the Bush family owns Halliburton. They bought it in 1947 because Halliburton went bankrupt, or that name went bankrupt. Metal in his gloves? I don't know. Plaster is a better way because it's an easier way to hide it. That makes a little more sense. Had something on there that as it got wet, it got a little more solid. Hard to say. John McAfee. Offhand, I don't remember. Them people are all over the place. Yeah, they are. They are. Them people is all over the place. John McAfee, you have to make me remember who he is. I don't have my other search phone. I just got this iPhone. I can't. Fury, serious a fighter, but Wilder, he was bound to meet his match because he was not accurate puncher. Exactly, he threw a lot of punches and left him vulnerable and off balance. You think Cheney was a fall guy, scapegoat? Yeah, of course he was. That's why they said, you know, they would always throw that up. And not until I researched it, I found out that they bought in 1947. Matter of fact, you can watch their bio. Their bio tells you that. You can watch their bio, but watch the bio talking about when Pappy Bush's daddy, when he was the Nazi traitor, because W's grandfather Prescott. Yeah, Prescott was trading with the Nazis for the Nazis. Prescott and his father-in-law. So what is it? H. The H father-in-law, I think, was the H father-in-law, whatever the H stood for. On the first the first one, and they was the first Nazi presidents. I mean, if you look at it. But yeah, Prescott was working trading on Wall Street for the Nazis until I think 42 or 43, and they didn't get him for treason, even though it was against aiding the enemy. It was something like that, an act already about aiding the enemy, and they didn't get him for that. And not only that, Pappy Bush ends up running the CIA. So he had his hand all in the cocaine business. So that's when what was the thing called? The Men Who Killed Kennedy. If Kennedy really got, I think Kennedy's Billy or Jimmy Carter. I think Kennedy's Jimmy Carter. The guy that made the virus protection for. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, Larry Johnson wasn't prepared. The guy that made the virus protect. Okay, he's supposed to commit suicide in prison. Oh, just depends. Sometimes these people get so dangerous about putting information out, and a lot of people are feeling it, where sometimes they do kill them. Yeah. I mean, anybody watching that stuff about Monica Lewinsky that's coming on Tuesday nights, and Linda Tripp talking about the Blackwater. She was the last person to see the dude who got killed, supposedly killed himself in the car. There's a lot of bodies. It's like if there's one parallel between Clinton and Kennedy, is like you can see a bunch of, and again, it's a rabbit hole, but you can see a bunch of dead bodies that could have been evidence, and you see that with the Clintons. Bunch of bodies, and everybody knows that Clinton allowed the cocaine to go in Arkansas. When they was getting it. It was going into Texas, Florida, and it was coming through Arkansas to push it up north. Or to flying directly from one of them islands into Arkansas. So that's why he got rewarded president. That was but again, he was in the White House as a boy. They were setting that up, that picture of him and Kennedy. That was all set up because, again, the future is written just like the past is written. And Richard Pryor said it best. It's just hard to stay sane. It was like, even before all this, it's hard to stay sane. It's hard enough to just be sane. And now you got, I could be a nigga. I could have this shot. I could not have this shot. Does my daughter have? I mean, it's like all this. When even before all this, it was so hard just to be a human being. And now they put this upon people. Now, will the rebellion turn into a 1983? Because that's what it's looking like. They want to create the rebellion. Have a reason to round up people. Eyes itching. That's what it looks like. Kennedy was Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I kind of think that. Like the thing about Jimmy Carter is look at his line, Lily Carter, or whatever her maiden name was. She's related to them Pilgrim people. She is really a blue blood. But look at both Kennedy. Kennedy was in the Navy, and I think Jimmy Carter was too. And so I looked it up. Billy Carter died at 50. Alcoholic, just a dumbass. He died at 50. But I think Lillian Carter died at 77 or 85. She died in either late 70s, early 80s. But Rose Kennedy lived to be 105 or 106. Maria Shriver's mama lived to be 100 and something. Right now, Jimmy Carter's 99. That ain't the Carters. That ain't the Carters. That is Kennedys living like that. The Kennedys live old like that. Now I know Ted didn't. Some bunch of the other ones was murked. So no, Ted didn't live as long as his mother lived. Not sure. I think he had some kind of cancer or something that took him out. Don't quite remember, but he was in his 80s. I don't know what information to keep and what to lose. Seems like everyone's compromised or agents. What are we supposed to do with the information coming from these people? I mean, it's just have an old man moment. You take the information in and you discern it. You take it in, you discern it. It's like I make these jokes about Zach, but it's like not everything he's saying that I don't think is useful. There's some, I mean, sometimes I'm amazed. I mean, that he just snaps this shit off is amazing. Is amazing. That just look at this number and then to tell it in a comprehensive way that's making it understandable. I think that is amazing. So the thing is discern. I mean, take in what you can use. Take in what helps your reality. I mean, this is the thing of what they're trying to tell you about the double slits is like, again, this shit is only acting when you observe it. That's why the people that turn off the news and kind of turn their mind off of all this stuff and just make their decisions off that, in some ways are better off. Do your own thing. Go by your own gut instinct. But you discern it. It was like, I think Slide put the question on, he was saying was Omar Johnson. Like with Omar Johnson, when he was saying about how young boys is, just hyper need to just be in classes that they can burn this energy off instead of drugging them up. I mean, that was some good information. I think one of the best explanations of light and how light affects you and how this artificial light affects you was given by Brother Polite. Probably 10 years ago or whenever he gave that, talking about how, and that was very relevant, how that just light can affect your moods and everything. So, but then we see when the people get turned, far too often we close our mind off to everything else they said. It's like Bobby would be getting fucked up on them videos. He'd be in that motherfucker drunk as hell, philosophizing, talking about spirituality. Just because he like getting fucked up and talking about it, is that bad? Does that mean that what he's saying, just because he like to, have some drinks and get into it? I smoke, I drink while I'm trying to get into it and bring out my awareness to people. So what everybody has to do is you have to discern how to filter this in. That's why I love the harmonizers, filter what's coming in and keep what's useful. But I'll say this is the most important thing. Keep your mind open. Keep your mind open. Like one of the important things my brother did, because I read books. When I see the stupid shit in it, I won't finish it. I'll be like, this is stupid shit. My brother's like, nah, this is a book you got to go through. Just keep reading it. He's like, I know it's hard to get through some of this shit, but he's like, keep reading it because I know it's something in there. And he was right. It was like, okay, this is talking about them. Putting different names in there, but I'm like, so I got to get better with that. Because I get turned off with stupid. Stupid turns me off. And then history lies. I'm like, these motherfuckers lying. The Kennedys had a sister they hid. Well, they had the one that had a lobotomy. The oldest sister, somewhat Rosemary Kennedy. They gave her a lobotomy. Yep. Hey, Aaron. It's hard to say. I mean, the thing that people are more prepared to homeschool their children. That's the thing. People are more prepared than ever to homeschool their children. That's the one thing they didn't realize is people, you've already set up a system where we can homeschool our children easier. So that's what I would say with the people in California. If you are not with that, they've already given you an easier avenue to homeschool your children. So, and that's going to be a good thing, that we're going to have society of children not compromised. It's not here. Not compromised. Oh, it is here. All right. Because parents are and family are the best teachers. Parent and family are the best teachers. So that's the power the parents have. Now, are they going to pass laws trying to make it harder? I don't see how they can. When those same avenues is open like they've never been open before. Like people up here, there's a lot of people never sent their children back to school. It's a lot of people up here who've never sent their children back to school. And the thing they're fighting up here is like my best friend. He lives in the city. The city is hit with such a bust, and the city ain't just, it's the city is a bunch of different little towns into the city, but it's a bunch of different school systems, and they're all hurting with bus drivers. But like his daughter can get a ride to school, but they got to pick her up at night. They don't have a bus to bring her home. They're that much hit with transportation. And so it's going to be interesting. And this is the thing that you have to understand to show the wickedness of the government. Within 12 months, you were calling people heroes because they were supposedly on the front lines for you, and they're throwing out baseball games. They're on TVs, and now you're telling these same people that are on the front lines. That makes you look bad, because if them people on the front lines look at it and say no, thank you, that's the greatest influence to me. They working with the shit, and they're saying no, thank you. So now I don't know if they're going to look at this as misinformation. It's a fact. New York is talking about, and this is what's stupid. Hey, run it up. Thank you. They're going to have enough, be able to call up enough weekend warriors to fill them positions. I don't think so. Not the numbers that they're dropping in New York. That's going to be hard to say the National Guard can fill in positions. So a lot of this is going to backfire on them. I'll say this. This is the weakest I've ever seen the beast. This is the weakest it's ever been. A lot of this move in the last couple of years is because the beast is wounded. Hey, Amp, thank you for joining me. These are the modern day Kennedys. That could be Lorenzo. Hey, Sean. So Society of Children Without the Influence of a Masonic School Teacher sounds good to me. Yeah, that's going to be we can have a generation like that. Yeah. The Prussian school system. Yeah. Like you think it's very refreshing. I'm always going through a lot of stress, and watching your videos really helps. Have a good outlook on life. It prepares me for life. Well, thank you. That's very kind for you to say. That's in my own thing. I mean, I'll say Quantum of Science, he said something that made really sense. And I don't copy exactly what he said, but like when he was saying how to face this reality made a lot of sense. It is part of breaking this reality, saying what my man Lou Gehrig said, that despite him having this dilapidating disease, he was still the luckiest man alive. Well, I say joyful. I feel that every morning I am just one of the most joyful persons the way I've turned out. I don't look at myself as a failure. And some things I did fail, but some things that I did succeed in. So I feel like I'm totally balanced. I never try to show like I'm more than what I am. I like everything I have is enough. I'm sure that other things, a newer car would be a little better, but I mean, the one I have for right now, tomorrow is enough. That's how you just got to face it. That's why I was saying when earlier asked me about, how to manifest. Before you can manifest, you have to understand that what's happening right now is enough. And until you fully be here now, you got to fully be here now to manifest. Because it's a thing my mother wrote. My mother hung on the wall when I was a child. It said, to dream of the person you want to be is to waste the person you are. And that's the same thing as be here now. Be in the now. Because that's another part of getting abundance and getting the timing of abundance is understanding that right now is okay. Yeah, if I hit, that'd be great. But if I don't hit, that's great too. To be able to take that balance of it. I mean, you can't gamble if you can't afford it. But there's times that the timing is right for you to gamble. And even if you lose it, you're not hurt. That's balance. Oh, how does it become weak? That's a good question. Big H and Run It Up say it's at its weakest has been seen. How does it become weak? That's a good question, but what you have to look at is even if Floyd was fake, the outcome of the people I don't think was fake. I think the way it rebounded, the way it resonated around the world, looking at the evil of this thing in front of us. And I think the world at one time together said, we've had enough of this bullshit. And the world pushed back at them. And the world has never done that before at the same time. I mean, there's people that never studied about Floyd or any of that. Must be allergies, eyes itching. But there was a pushback by the whole world. And think about it. There was such a pushback where the world quit pushing this thing that's going on right now. For that month of the Floyd and around the world had to forget their agenda. Floyd made them forget the agenda. They knew Floyd became so powerful, they couldn't even bring the agenda up because they knew people couldn't hear it. They wasn't talking that shit while that Floyd shit was going on because people had closed their mind off to it. People knew there was one common enemy. The man. One common enemy. That's what that was one time where the people said, you all, y'all the enemy. And that was one of the few times in history you got to see that the people of the world looked at one enemy. And then, of course, after it's over, they did the splintering again. Brother Bomber was talking about how they, when they changed the languages so the whole world couldn't speak the one language. It's kind of what we had to see after Floyd. They had to change the language again. Because at one time, people spoke the same language for that 4 or 5 weeks. Fuck them and it's them. We all spoke the same language. Fuck them and it's them. That's the enemy. You, my enemy, when I want my freedom. You, my enemy, by being my oppressor. You won't even speak up for me when I want to do my thing. And so that scared them. That scared them because we haven't looked at anything organic like that since the 60s, really since the 60s. And it wasn't just the civil rights thing, because to a certain point, the civil rights had a negative impact on melanated people. It really did. The country was better off with segregated neighborhoods. It was better for everybody. It was better for everybody. It was healthier for everybody. And that's not saying, there was no benefit there was really no benefit from segregation. Now, the biggest benefit, how Europeans benefited from segregation, is through the sports. Because if you follow black college football from the 50s and going into the 60s, the AFL was birthed on black college football. And we know without Jackie Robinson crossing the line, the Negro Leagues could have existed. It could have existed. If Canada can only play with 8 to 10 teams for the last 60 years, Negro Leagues could have kept going. Didn't need to integrate. And again, it was giving your talents and working for other people instead of working for yourself. Like they show you, Chinese people live in an area, all the money stays in the area. Them peoples live in one area, all the money stay in their area. We're the only people that we're gladly spending away from everybody. Like I said before, it was years where I just bought, and even though my friends, the stores I went to sold knockoffs and nothing and everything, I loved jerseys and I didn't care about, I'd buy them Jordans every couple months. I would buy those clothes for my children just because it helped the neighborhood. These dudes that I see all the time, I'm spending money with them. I'm not going out to the malls. And I think I even went on the radio about 10 years ago. I called in and I said, I know that our people sell a lot of this knockoff stuff, but this is our people. And what's this? Clothes. And why can't we enrich our neighborhoods? That's what helps the neighborhood, is enriching them. Sorry. But it's hard to purely be in the moment. It takes work. Oh, definitely takes work. Thank you, Perspective Gaming. When I'm in the moment, I tend to manifest without even trying. There you go, Moray. There you go. What do you need me to elaborate more on Run It Up? Oh, how I became weak? Yeah, okay, yeah. Should have taught our own children, yeah, from the beginning. America's obsessed with race. Well, no, they use race as a card, races as a play. They use race as a play. That's why the Democrats got, they got the jab, and then they go with race. That's the thing, the jab or race. But another thing that came out of Floyd is not being fearful. People are not as fearful as they used to be. And that's another thing that makes the beast weak, is the people aren't as fearful. And when people aren't afraid, people tend to bond together and think smarter and move without fear. That's a good point. Homie says it starts with the community level. Let the community come together and the whole country comes together in no time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Must be my allergies tonight. Absolutely. That's a good point. The Tulsa riot didn't end it. Us wanting to integrate did. That's the same with HBC football and our professional leagues. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why they tell a game, they tell that it was kind of fixed when Alabama invited USC to come play Alabama in Alabama, even though they had Randall Cunningham's brother, Sam the Bam, that just died. You watch that documentary. The old coach from Alabama's old coach, Bear Bryant, one of them brothers. And so he had to show them good old boys what these brothers can do. And Randall Cunningham or Sam the Bam Cunningham scored 4 or 5 touchdowns on Alabama. And that was the way of Bear Bryant saying, you good old boys need to get over yourself. If you do not let me get these people in here, we're not going to be able to compete with these schools. because they have athletes that we don't have. That's why them peoples took over basketball from the very beginning. All the early leagues was through them in upstate New York. They was the first one to put in basketball leagues. And it wasn't for the benefit of them. It was for the benefit of controlling it. And Zach and them all show you the Jesuit schools. That's got a point to it. That they want to, but them people have always controlled pro basketball. They've controlled almost all levels of basketball. Is Kwame Brown a Freemason? He be throwing them signs like he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he was one. Can't forget they want them illegal. Yeah, well, I mean, cheap labor. I mean, I was watching a thing that was saying about just Hispanic people when they was coming over, they would take their time. That's two of the things that was them. It's like when they brought the Asian people over here, the Asian people would just take their time and they would never bat their eye at racism. They was just like, we're going to just put up with this shit because eventually we're going to push through it. We're going to all stick together. We're going to put up with this shit. When they give us shit, we just let them do their shit and we stick together and we all going to go about it. And they silently took over. And we as a people, since this was our country, it's easy for Chinese people to say that and Asian people to say that because this wasn't their original country. Well, with our people, this was our original country. And we started on the East Coast and they pushed us. It's like, when is enough enough? When is enough enough? That's a good point, homie. Homie said, wouldn't be surprised they're using black magic and technology to help the children they want in the leagues. Well, they probably, hey, Jeffrey, what's happening? So many national championships. They have 3 Heisman Trophy winners, and they're all brothers. There you go. There you go. They didn't have a quarterback in there win the Heisman? I thought, no, it wasn't Jones. I guess it wasn't the Alabama quarterback that won. Tula. Okay, yeah, Tula. No, Tula didn't win it, did he? I don't think Tula won it. If we ignore it, will it go away? I think like what did Morgan Freeman say? Quit talking about it, Quit talking about it. Deal on one-on-one, deal with your one-on-one situations. And if you see the truth in dealing in a situation, then take note of that truth. Okay, they think fucked up. If you're working with somebody that's thinking fucked up, okay, take note of that too. Say, okay, I know what level to keep this person, but I can still get what I want done despite of them. And that's how most of it has to be looked at. Just because that's in the way, keep moving, keep moving. But I'll say, I've been harmed more by melanated people than Europeans overall. I've had some critical situations where melanated people that should have helped me, in some cases even family, refused to help me. So it wasn't just them. It was some people that look like me that should have helped, because they helped many others that were less deserving. Now they helped others that was deserving, right on. But it was a critical time in my life where it was melanated people that stepped in and made it negative. So racism goes away when the green and orange and red alien demons, grays and mantis reptilians come here. That's funny. That's funny. Oh man, I gotta go because I do have an early morning day tomorrow. I'm probably not gonna get much sleep tonight. But before I end this, I will end it with Mora. And more is a little of the information I can give up of the time walkers. And they had a saying when they would all get a little low, they would go, it all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland. They knew that they had an exact number of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But the civilization they built up would come to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day and knew how to separate cycles in the great serpent. And as the mind would say, and I'll close, I am another yourself. My name is Eight Wind is Timeless. Thank you for everybody that's joined. Till we meet again.